just trying really hard to tamp down the anxiety I feel and I feel like I shouldn't be too upset because this is not something that happens regularly, but I saw that yesterday they had scheduled my pickup for 11:30 in the morning, and I was really close to it, and that is way too late. Like, if I'm not on the road by 5:30 in the morning, I'm starting to get anxious, because that means I'm not going to be able to find parking, and I have to drive down to Missouri, and the way that this is going to be, I'm going to end up in a high traffic area around rush hour, and the truck stop that I already have put into my GPS that I was planning to go to is on the other side of that. It's really the only way to do it. It's either that or I would have to get on the road by like probably 2 in the morning or 3. So it's like I would have to totally switch up my sleep schedule. I know this is just something that you have to do sometimes in reefers. I'm not trying to be like, oh, woe is me, because this is how, like, reefer is not always like you staying on a schedule. And my company has been pretty good about keeping me on a consistent schedule. See, I'm talking it out as I'm sharing the story. I'm talking myself through it. But it doesn't make the anxiety any better, because just knowing this drive is a really annoying drive. I don't like going to Missouri. The weather is gross down there, and the truck stops are not great. There aren't enough, like everywhere, there aren't enough spaces, and you end up on this particular run, I end up a little too close to either one major city or another. I think I'm usually going by Kansas City. It's a very boring, monotonous, long drive that ends up taking you through high traffic areas at undesirable times, and then ending up in a place where you're stressing to try to get a parking spot. So I'm already full of anxiety about that, and it's like I'm making myself feel worse because I'm kind of working myself up, and I'm trying to like calm myself down and recognize, like, I'm making myself feel worse than I need to. You know, we all have to manage our own thoughts, and that's a constant challenge in trucking, because there are so many things that are out of your control. And I've been really grateful and fortunate on this particular job that one of the things that's gone right is that I'm usually kept on a pretty consistent schedule. One positive too is the drop off is just a drop. It's not a live unload. So that helps. There's flexibility there. See, it's fine. Calm down, bitch. I'm sitting here waiting, and I called this, I've been here before. I like this place. The last time I came here, I got here when the receptionist was showing up to work and no one else was here, and they got me right in the door and right out. And I thought it was the same place, and I called last night and I said, hey, my appointment's at 11:30, but can I get there early? And they were like, yeah, we open at 8. I was like, okay, I'll get there at 8. And I wanted to get here at like 7:30, but I didn't get here till 8. Just like, I still got up at 3:45 and did my usual routine, and then I had so much time, I actually went back to sleep for like an hour, because I just am so worn down, like run down, and I feel exhausted. Right now I feel great because I just had my shake. I just had a shake, guys. Side note, sorry if this looks gross because it's got remnants of shake in it, but I just got one of these blend jet things and I freaking love it. I used to make shakes every day for 15 years or something. Usually my shakes are at least twice the size of this one though, and I would drink half in the morning and then put plastic wrap over it, throw it in the fridge, and drink the other half at night. I have my very specific recipe. My specific recipe of things, it ended up being so many things that I started putting most of the stuff in there, like all the liquid things, the night before, and then in the morning I just throw the frozen stuff in on top and just go ahead and blend it. And I used to use an immersion blender, just like a stick blender. That's the gesture for immersion blender, apparently. This thing is great. It has a USB charger. It is powerful, surprisingly powerful, and it's so nice to have shakes again, because one of the things I've done, like, to keep my digestion better during the day, that has been a huge game changer for me, is not eating solid food until later in the day. And I got in the habit of doing that again, eating regular something in the morning. I don't feel as good when I do that at all. I feel much better when I start the day with a shake. So what I put in it is kefir. I put some kind of oat milk, usually orange juice, ideally fresh OJ that I get from the Jewels in Chicago. If you know it, you know. If you know, you know. I put some raw greens in there. I have a spinach and arugula blend. I love arugula in the these shakes. I love that little hint of spiciness. I love a different blend of flavors, not just sweet, some tangy, some peppery, some earthy. What else do I put in there? My favorite thing, there's these big bags of fruit blends. I would always get those because they're so good. They have like big chunks of coconut in them and like mango and strawberries. I like that blend, and I like to not over blend it because I like chunks of coconut in my shake. Is there anything else? I think that's most of what goes in there. Pineapple is in that blend too. Yeah, I love pineapple. So that's generally everything that goes in there. I feel like frozen bananas. That's key. I actually started freezing little baggies of bananas that I have in my tiny little freezer. I am interested in getting a bigger freezer for the truck that's not big, but bigger than this. This one is literally this size, so I need something a little bigger. So if you have any type of freezer that you use in your truck that you would recommend, please put that in the comments, because that's something I definitely would like to use. But I digress. That was a long side note. You know me, I can do it. So anyway, yeah, I'm probably getting myself more stressed out than I need to be, but I really hope I got here and the lady was like, oh, I got a couple ahead of you and your appointment's not until 11:30, so I'm gonna have you go wait on the street, pull over onto the street, and I'll call you. And I'm like, fuck. So what I'm kind of thinking about is the trade-offs at this company, and the fact that I'm technically making less money than I was before, and the trade-off, like in exchange, I'm getting to travel out west and not go east ever, and like not be in Indiana and places like that all the time. But I now pay for parking. I pay $150 a month to park the truck and park my car. I could park in a truck stop, but if you think I'm going to leave my car in a truck stop for a week or 2 weeks at a time, no, absolutely not. Not going to do that. So I was in a situation where I ended up having to pay for parking, which I think if they're going to hire people out of a different area that's far from their terminal, then they should be willing to at least subsidize it, at least pay part of it or something. So that's irksome. And then the other thing is having to pay for showers now. So these are trade-offs where my weekly income is almost exactly the same as it was at the other carrier, but now I'm losing money on those things. So technically I'm making less money than I was, even though I'm running more miles, but the mileage pay is slightly lower. And I thought, well, you know, if I'm running at 70 miles per hour, I'm governed instead of 65. And if I'm doing these longer runs, longer drives, more miles, which I am, it'll be a wash, or it'll make up for it, and I'll end up making more, but I'm really not. So the other big thing is I'm struggling so much with not feeling well and the lack of physical activity. And I know I kind of harp on this a lot, and I've shown myself exercising in videos, but that is not a 15-minute workout, or even a 30-minute workout is not enough to offset the hours of sitting. And I'm partly sharing this for any new drivers that might be watching, or prospective drivers. Like, this job will take a major physical toll on you. And I've only been doing it a year. I have hip pain every day, which I already had some existing issues, but it makes it a lot worse when you're sitting as much as I am. So I am not sure what's going to happen, and I do not want to be jumping from job to job. As whatever complaints I might have, I don't think I would be doing much better anywhere else, especially in the current freight market. But I also have to be like, is this physically realistic for me to continue doing this? It's not for very long, that I know. So I would love to be like a dedicated, I'm going to stay and work for 5 years now. Absolutely not. My body will not let me. I don't know what the next chapter is going to look like, but it's going to have to be something more physical. There's no getting around it. It's going to be touch freight. It's going to be hand unload, whatever. I guess that's kind of the same thing, right? I could see myself going back to Chicago and working for one of the beverage companies, and it would be just funny, like just a funny full circle moment to be driving the truck delivering beer to the bars that I used to work at. I can see myself doing that. And guess what? I would enjoy myself a million times more than I did behind the bar. But what's so funny, and I keep thinking about it, trying not to think too much about it, is that when I was bartending, I worked probably a third as much as I work now, and I made the same amount of money. And it was easy work, and I enjoyed it, but I was really bored. And it's just so weird. Like, everybody should get paid more for the work that they do, especially something as important, as vital to the American economy and way of life as trucking. I should make more money. You should make more money if you're a trucker and you're watching this and you're also getting paid a lower amount of money. And again, I'm not blaming my company. It's part of a broader system, and it is what it is. I'm sorry I'm such a broken record when I talk about these things, but I care about it, and we all should care about it, because we all like going to the store and seeing the shelves full of all the things that we want, and it's because of the labor of people like me and you if you're a trucker and you're watching this. So we have a right to be a little disgruntled about it, just a little bit. Do you guys mind if I bitch and moan for a second while I drink this here Alka-Seltzer? I'm having a really annoying day. I'm just really frustrated and stressed out right now, and it's partly because it's 8 p.m. and I just stopped driving a little bit ago, and I'm not at a regular truck stop, so there's no real facilities here. There's a little Cenex over there. I don't know if they're 24 hours, so maybe they are, so there's that. At least there's like an indoor bathroom. There's also porta-johns, but part of my general paranoia of being a woman alone at truck stops or like on the road is I really don't like to stay in places like the one that I'm at. It's at a customer. I knew I was going to stay near here, but I wasn't sure exactly how it was going to end up, and basically I had called earlier and I was supposed to get loaded tomorrow morning, so I was going to park at a truck stop that was down the road like 20 minutes, and it was like a regular truck stop. I'm in South Dakota, by the way, and there are long stretches, really beautiful, but long stretches where there's nothing, and it's 2-lane farm roads. There's no shoulder that you can even pull onto because it slopes down and there's not enough room to pull over safely. So I ended up getting detoured, and because I'm out in the boonies, the detour took me an hour out of the way. And I was 10 minutes away from here. And I had called earlier and spoken to this nice lady who was like, oh yeah, you should be fine if you get there. You know, I told her what time I'd be there. You should be good. They should be able to load you tonight. And if not, there's parking right there. So I'm parked right here. It's fine. It's this industrial area. It's like there's a neighborhood right around it. But there's just certain places that I feel less comfortable and safe being in out here by myself. It's just, and it's not that I'm fearful, even though I sound like I am. It's not that I don't feel like I can hold my own. It's just I feel much more comfortable at a larger commercial truck stop with a lot of lighting in the parking lot, with people that are working inside the truck stop overnight. It just makes me feel safer. So this kind of situation is not ideal, but it's okay. I'm gonna be fine. I'm gonna be safe. I'm fully latched inside my truck and I'm not getting out of my truck. The late start today really was not great, and now I'm being forced to have a late start tomorrow morning. And when I got here, it was one of those places where it's a dairy company. We do a lot of dairy because I'm doing reefer, obviously, so it's the kind of place that has an automated kiosk. So for you non-truck drivers, sometimes when you get to a customer, you have to check in on a computer and there's no person there. And there's a phone number, but because I got delayed by that long detour, there was no one to answer the customer service number when I called. And it's not, the PO numbers that I was given in our company's tablet didn't work. So you have to like scan your driver's license and then put in these PO numbers or pickup numbers, and neither one of them worked. So I was like, shit. So I just got back in my truck. I called the after hours dispatcher and he's trying to help, but he ends up figuring I can't give you any information until first thing in the morning, which is 7 a.m., which is late as hell. I should be on the road already for like an hour and a half minimum by 7 a.m. But no, instead I'm going to be maybe getting loaded at 8, which is when they set up the appointment time. So they're setting all these late appointment times for me. It's just the week is screwy. I shouldn't be complaining about it because that's just the way trucking is. You can't, especially reefer, like you can't be like, I want to start every day at this time and be done at this time. And I've been spoiled because I have been able to do that. And it's partly because I think my dispatcher has really done a great job of accommodating what I would like to have happen. And so I'm just venting because I'm really frustrated. My stomach has been upset all day. It's just been, which has been going on for the last couple of weeks. And I haven't been feeling well in a lot of ways. And I really would like to. I haven't seen a doctor and had any type of like physical or checkup other than the DOT physical, which is just like, are you a warm body? They poke you and make sure that you don't fall over. I'm exaggerating, but if you go to a truck stop and see the people that are getting in and out of trucks, you know that it's very, very easy to pass a DOT physical. Let's put it that way. I haven't had any type of medical checkup in a good decade. And I would like to do that, but my insurance hasn't kicked in yet. I've been at this job for like 2 months. I think it's 90 days. So And I'm just like, I feel so shitty so much of the time, and I try to like suppress it. I try to push it down because I'm like, well, it's because I'm sitting so much, and it's because I'm eating differently than I normally would. Like days off, I eat a fraction of what I eat when I'm driving because it's part of how I keep my brain from turning completely off. And just all these things, it's just I'm sharing it because this is the real experience of driving trucks. And when you're someone like me who's really in tune with their health, even though I haven't had health insurance for all these years, so that's why I haven't seen a doctor. And let's face it, we live in the United States. Health insurance doesn't mean you can afford to see a doctor. It just means that you might be able to afford to not go bankrupt if you get in some type of an accident, if you break a bone. But if you have a serious illness like a heart attack, or if you get a horrible diagnosis, something like cancer, good luck with that insurance. Yeah, we all know about that. I could go on a whole tirade about it, and I'm trying not to in these videos. On that note, I am like working out the thought process of I'm going to start a podcast soon. I hope soon. My loose plan is to start it on Patreon. Not because I want to make money off Patreon, because I would charge like $1 or $2 a month or something like that. The rationale is that I think I would be a little less likely to get trolls and stuff like that if it was something that was actually paid. I mean, I'm sure there's still going to be some trolls, but I want to be more free to talk about things that are way outside of trucking, that if I talked about them on YouTube would just not fit in with my content. I also don't want to alienate the people on this who are watching this channel who are interested in trucking, you know, specifically. So I want to try to keep it sort of a narrow focus for people who are interested in trucking, other drivers, people who are interested in doing it, and then people who watch me in other places that are just curious about truck drivers. And also on that note, I just want to ask, if you're watching this video from another country, please comment. Please say where you're from in the comments. I know I have viewers now. I have a viewer who comments frequently from Tunisia. I have a viewer who's in England. Hi, Mark, my tea expert friend. I'm just going to call you that because you're English. I'm going to stereotype you. And I have a viewer who commented recently from Germany. Hi, Laura. And I think that's so amazing that people from other countries can watch each other and see what our lives are like. And it made me realize, like, why am I not watching people in other countries? I am really curious about what it's like to be a truck driver in other countries. One of my viewers said something about, have you ever thought about being a lorry driver in, I don't know if they said England or another country in Europe. And after they said that, it just sparked something in my mind. And I've been thinking about spending time living in another country forever, like for the longest time. And I've always had all these excuses, which are mostly based around money. And so I thought, you know, I'm at a point in life where I'm more open to like considering ideas like that. So maybe I would go be a lorry driver in a European country. Why not? You know, after you drive a truck at all, I think you like get more confident. If I can do this, I can do anything. So I went on a meandering path of conversations, which is kind of my way, and I feel better now. So thank you in advance for listening to my meandering rant about things that are just normal to trucking, and you don't need to get upset about them. But then, see, I just feel like I veer into toxic positivity a little bit. It's like I'm really quick to be like, oh, well, you know, don't be mad because, and it's like, sometimes you want to be a little mad. I think a big part of why I'm so stressed out is the lack of exercise. It really stresses me the fuck out. So there's a nice F-bomb. That made me feel better right away. My bed. Good morning, friends. I'm finally getting loaded. This has been a weird overnight and morning. I don't know. I feel so thrown off by this late start. I am trying really hard to reframe my thinking and turn off the steady stream of I'm so anxious, I'm so anxious, I'm so anxious. It's like I start thinking about it and then I program myself to become more anxious and stay anxious, and I'm drinking a strong cup of coffee at the same time, and all of that is counterproductive. So I'm trying to toe that line between unhealthy thinking and toxic positivity because I'm genuinely like stressed, and stress is real. And if my neck wasn't being kind of wonky, I'd probably just bust out some kettlebell swings. And I'm in a very dusty lot. I'm in a construction area. They're doing all this construction around the place where I'm picking up, so not really a place that I want to exercise outside. was just zoning out in a Instagram K-hole, as one does. I really like to zone out on Instagram sometimes. I don't post too much on there. I really don't like posting on social media. I don't like using social media. It makes me uncomfortable. I don't like participating in it because it's so intimately linked with the total gradual, not gradual downfall of Western society. Sometimes I like to zone out and look at random things, and I'm glad I follow a lot of interesting people who make me think, and most of it is pretty positive content. I try to keep it to that. I've got my algorithm pretty well tuned to like cute animal things and interesting people, artists, creatives, a lot of that kind of stuff. But I just scrolled through, this makes me like choke up just saying it. I've seen a couple posts this week because it's the 6-year anniversary of the death of Chris Cornell, and that really gets to me, man. Sometimes, sorry, I didn't expect myself to be emotional about it, but it was this really awesome picture of him and this like close-up shot, and it's just like, it's such a upsetting reality that so many really special people have left this realm that way. And I'm sure some of you watching have known people who've done that, and it's just a real shame. And I'm glad to have a catalog of great music that he left behind. But every time I think about him, my first thought is his kids, and I think about like the haunting story of like the night that his life ended and how pointless it was and how it was influenced by substances that were in his body. And I know how it feels to be at a super low and to be in a state that I realized later is totally chemical. Like, you feel so desperately low, and then later you realize that it was like not real. And that's what I always think about when I think of him, is like, I think that's the kind of state that he was in. I think he was in a deluded state of like being in a headspace of feeling like a sense of impossibility and desperation, and it just really sucks that someone could be in that state and make this permanent action. I don't even know if I'll use this video. I don't like to be all emotional, but yeah, that just came up in my feed, and it really struck me as just such a shame, such a waste, such a total waste, and what a tragedy for his kids, and his wife. But anyway, sorry for being emotional. Sorry, not sorry. It's a sad thing. It's okay to be sad when things are sad. But anyway, I guess it helped take me out of myself and my stupid problems. And it's like I get myself so worked up over something that's like gonna pass. This too shall pass, you know. I was just messaging with somebody who was asking about where I worked, and I was telling them I can't tell you that, and blah blah blah. And we were just talking about trucking and trucking companies, and I was just saying, I think that when you go from one trucking company to another, it's just like an exchange of like one set of bullshit for another set of bullshit, because the industry is so messed up, you know. I think about that sometimes, where it's like you just are making trade-offs, but you're never really making money. I shouldn't say that. You can eventually, but when you're starting off like I am, odds are you're not going to make a lot of money, and I feel like you just have to come to a sense of peace with that and just take what you can from it, and hope that you can make some kind of gain. So I'm stretching my hip. That's why I'm in this weird position. My hips hurt all the time. And this week, again, I feel like this welling up of stress when I think about how little I've driven this week, because next week my paycheck is going to be so small. It's just been one of those weird weeks where they're starting me off so late and sending me on these short runs, and I don't understand why it's happening. But next week they're supposed to send me back out west, so it's like that. It feels like every week, one week I get a ton of miles, and next week I get nothing. And I keep rationalizing it in my mind. I'm like, well, they're trying to keep me close so that I can get home for my home time by the weekend. But it's like, if that's what it's always going to be, then going home